The occupations are facing challenges, from state shutdowns to media misinformation and sensationalism. Some occupations have additional challenges. Because they do not have a camp, we met Occupy Cheyenne supporters at the local public library to hear what drew them to the movement.
I joined the movement because I've always had an issue with the income disparity in this country and the inequality.
I don't just begrudge anybody for making money. You know, it's, hey, you earned it, you know, it's like that. But when you sit there and go, well, my investors want more money, let's fire 5,000 people so they can have the more money and stuff like that, that's, it's like, okay, now you just put 5,000 people on the street. That's wrong on all sorts of levels.
Finally, what we're seeing is people getting mad about it, right?
That's right.
They haven't noticed it happening. It's been going on for decades, and it's finally reached the point where people are falling off the bottom, winding up homeless, living under bridges, wondering where they're going to go.
When I saw this, and then a few weeks later saw it explode, I felt hopeful for the first time in a long time that people who felt that there wasn't even any point in expressing what they thought because no one was going to be there to listen, now realize that there were millions of people who felt discouraged and exploited and sad in the very same way.
Occupy Cheyenne stages protests, holds educational events, and recently drafted a declaration, but does not yet have an encampment. In part because Wyoming is one of the country's most conservative states.
There is really no effective Democratic Party in Wyoming.
No.
And it's a shame. It's a terrible, terrible shame. And I'm not sure if there ever can be. But I thought I've seen more effectiveness from the Occupy movement in the last couple of months than I've seen in, sad to say, a lifetime of, or most of a lifetime of Democratic politics. The attitude here is cowboy up. If you have a problem, get tough and solve it yourself. Don't depend on the government to do it. Don't depend on anybody else to do it, but you got to cowboy up.
Because of this attitude, occupiers must confront some local hostility to the movement, online and on the streets.
What's the public reaction been like?
You get flipped off, you get yelled at.
What do they yell?
They yell,
get a job.
Yeah, they say get a job, or they yell like,
lazy,
you know,
you lazy pot smoking bum hippies.
Yeah,
they
call us
hippies
hippies
yeah.
and stuff like that.
At occupations across the country, bystanders sometimes find they agree with the movement once they learn about it.
There were people from the street that came up and stood with us and asked us questions, and we discussed our goals and our ideals and our thoughts on the movement. It was like, well, they agreed. A lot of the people that just walked up to us agreed with us on so many points.
And at many occupations, even Republicans and Tea Partiers are part of this movement.
I have friends that are so for this movement, but they're hardcore Republicans.
But while many people may agree with the movement, some in the red states do not get involved because of the fear of job loss and social standing.
Being seen and associated with this here in Cheyenne, which is, I'm still kind of processing this fact, but it's like a big deal, and a lot of people are worried to do that. And they don't want to have to deal with that, criticism in other parts of their life, especially professionally.
50 miles west of Cheyenne, we caught up with Occupy Laramie in a local cafe.
There are many, many people in the community who are extremely against Occupy movement. There's a lot of fear for people who are currently employed, such as myself, who are trying to raise a family to get involved. It's so much easier to, even if you do support it, to just be quiet so that you don't cause any conflicts.
They played Rush Limbaugh over the radio at the post office when we were sorting mail. When you got in a mail vehicle, the radio was turned to Rush Limbaugh. It was very much a part of the culture. And I'm not one to hide stuff, so everyone knew I was left, but there was only 2 other people and they wouldn't say it out loud. They wouldn't let anybody know that they leaned towards the left it, it was just too hard on you.
Every Friday I stand on the corner with a Honk for Peace sign and a VFP sign, Veterans for Peace sign. We still get drive-by birdies.
Drive-by what?
Birdies. Don't. I hope that was off the.
No, it's okay.
One young kid hollered at me, "Get a job!" And I hollered back at him. He was stopped at the light. I said, "I was in the U.S. Army longer than you've been out of diapers, puppy. You get a job." And he's like, "Oh."
Another red state, Idaho, has a reputation for right-wing extremism.
I think it's a pretty conservative community overall here.
Second most Republican state in the nation, I believe, after Alaska.
But Occupy Boise has suffered little police interference or right-wing critics. In fact, supporters come through regularly, including conservatives.
The cross-field of political ideologies is amazing. We've had Tea Partiers come through here and go, we have a huge libertarian contingent, and they come through here. And while we disagree on some of the finer points, a lot of the broader problems, the government ineffectiveness, the corporate just nightmare, we agree on. And from there, we can build a conversation and work together to broaden our horizon.
But just as in Wyoming, some supporters fear backlash if they participate.
We have been, for the most part, very well received here. There's always the people that don't, that's just normal. But the people that walk through camp and say, "Thank you, I would lose my job if I helped you, or if they knew I was here, but thank you." I went in a store to buy something for the encampment, and I says, "Oh, I'm part of Occupy Boise," and the teller stopped, reached down, grabbed her purse, pulled $5 out and says, "I wish I had more, but I just want to say thank you."
Despite the challenges of organizing in the red states, occupiers are excited and hopeful about the movement.
I am so excited and thrilled about really absolutely everything. And the reason I do this is because this is the most amazing thing that's ever happened in my lifetime.
The Occupy movement?
Yes!
And the national conversation has changed. It's not about this debt thing, it's about Occupy Wall Street. Things are changing, and once they change, they don't go back. You cannot put that little genie back in the magic rubbing lamp.
I have a grandson that I won't stop. I'm determined that my grandson will have a beautiful place to grow up.